I don't know. That's not kind of what I mean, definitely I got the fact that Purdy is he's the guy, he's the incumbent, if anybody's going to inherit the job, it's going to be him. Okay. So that's clear. And I didn't really need anybody to tell me that, I can we all saw that. But they did invest a lot in Trey. The thing on what he said about Trey is he's got to play. That's the biggest challenge he says we have a team that's ready to go. He has to get out there and play.
Right.
And then he went on to say, we believe in who he is as a person, who he is as a quarterback. But that sounds to me like the Warriors sounded a couple weeks ago on James Wiseman. Like, hey, you know what? He's got to play, but he's not getting minutes here. And we don't know how he's going to develop. Like that sounds like trade clouds starting to form. He's got to play. That's the biggest challenge. Well, wait a second. Brock's hurt. And then why is that a challenge? Trey's the only quarterback you have. And he's out there on the field right now playing. So he's got to play. That's the biggest challenge. We have a team that's ready to go. We have a team that's ready to go. And the implication is clearly Trey is not ready to go. Am I reading that wrong, or what? Are you not getting that out of that? That's what I got out of that. I got out of that he's saying, clearly Trey's got to play. You and I have said this. Everybody knows Trey knows he has to play. He has to play this year. But then he goes on to say, that's the biggest challenge. What's the challenge? The challenge is if he's not ready to play. And then he says, we have a team that's ready to go right now. Well, the implication is that Trey's not ready to go right now. So that all being said, I just think it's so weird that the Niners keep calling Trey a dual quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback instead of a quarterback. Why can't he's not even that great of a runner? I'm not even 100% sure he's a better runner than Brock. Why can't we just call him a quarterback and use him like a quarterback and not make him this dual threat? He's going to run it between the tackles. And then I just didn't understand why did Lynch say he's got to play? That's the biggest challenge we have. We got a team that's ready to go. He's got to get out there and play. We very much believe in the person and who he is as a quarterback, but he makes it seem like it's a problem for Trey to get snaps. And from what I can tell, they're relatively thin on the depth chart. Why is it such a challenge if he's got to play and you have plenty of room for him to play? So that made me go like, what's going on there? And then I said to whoever I was talking to on Tuesday, not at a very high volume, I said, hey, if they go and get a third quarterback, that third quarterback will tell us the story. And then I thought, well, okay, if they get a third quarterback that's really more like a starting quarterback, then maybe they are going to trade Trey.
Yeah.
And then there's this rumor from Albert Breer about Baker Mayfield, which made me entitle this Baker Mayfield to the 49ers ? And then Jeremy Fowler over the weekend on ESPN put a second source to it and said the Niners have interest in Baker. And then when it came time to talk about Trey Lance, and this is the other thing that I think is definitely a topic that obviously we're going to talk about. When it got time to talk about trading Trey Lance, or on the idea of trading Trey Lance, Lynch said, we will listen to anything, but we like Trey on our team right now. We like, I mean, that seems odd, an odd way to put that. What was your takeaway from that? I mean, to me, it just seems like, I think Trey, we've talked a lot about Trey. I really believe in Trey, but I believe in Trey on Trey's timeline. I don't believe in Trey necessarily on the Niners timeline, or the Niner fans timeline, or the Niner media timeline. You know what I mean? I don't know that it's going to happen right away. And it just seems like the talk has that tone of like, like keep getting this message from the team that
I get the vibe they're going to
play. He needs to play, but he doesn't have any time. We don't have time to play him.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're getting ready to trade him on draft day. As far as I'm in lockstep with Lynch on this, if I'm reading Lynch the right way, which is the games are now. Your opportunity to win a championship is now. You need to go now. So if you think Trey's 2 years away, then he's more valuable to you in a trade than he is right now because you need to win now. So Sam Darnold is older and just played probably the best football of his career the last 6 games in Carolina. I mean, it's an awfully small sample size for me to really say, wow, Sam Darnold's going to be great. But we did see Sam Darnold dump it off underneath and pile up some good yards after the catch. And he did show some accuracy underneath in those 6 games. So there's the Darnold factor. And also the fact is, he's got, you would think, either starter or backup type, pedigree. And he's, in this situation, the third quarterback. I'd be really scared. And I've stated this, that I'm scared to trade Trey Lance because I'm scared about what Trey could be. And then how bad the 49ers could look if Trey turns into the next Mahomes for some other team. But there's no question. It sounds like they're setting it up for that. So I predicted on the day that the Niners lost to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game that Brock Purdy was going to be the Niners' #1 quarterback going forward. And I received a ton of pushback for having that opinion. People claimed I was crazy, said, Krug, you're nuts, and insisted that, Lance and Brock were going to compete for that #1 job. But after listening to John Lynch and Jed York and Kyle Shanahan kind of speak this week in Arizona, guys, they all clearly agree with me. They all have Purdy as the 49ers' #1 quarterback as well. So why do I believe that Lance will be traded? Let's get to the brass tacks on this thing. The Niners brass have all clearly voiced that Brock Purdy is their guy. That is their professional evaluation. Agree with it, disagree with it, whatever. That's how they feel. And regardless of that, I mean, Trey needs to play, and he needs to play right now. He needs to play immediately. He hasn't played consistently since high school. He's only played 1 year of college ball. John Lynch said exactly the same thing when he spoke at the Combine in Indianapolis. I said that who the 49ers added at the quarterback position this offseason would be a great indicator. That would tell us how they truly feel about Trey Lance and his future. And what did the Niners do? They signed the former #3 overall pick, Sam Darnold, on the very first day of free agency. And then they gave him an incentive-laden contract. Darnold was Carolina's starter at the end of last year and likely did not sign with the 49ers to simply be their third-string quarterback. So then you listen to Shanahan and how he was so incredibly glowing when talking about Darnold. He said he's got, a skill set that's as good as any he's ever seen. And that he said he's always loved Darnold as a prospect. He's always loved Darnold as a thrower of the football. Guys, just to sum this up, I'm not anti-Trey Lance. I'm pro-Trey Lance. And so are the 49ers. We both believe that Trey Lance has a very bright future. But I'm going to stay with my opinion. The Niners, in my opinion, are going to trade Trey Lance. And they're going to commit to Brock Purdy.